Am I the asshole for making my wife pay for something she gave away? My wife has a bad habit of giving away or lending out things that don't belong to her. I've lost count of how many times I go to look for something of mine only for her to say she lent it to someone. She also takes forever to get that item back. She once lent my stuff to a coworker and refused to ask for it back for a month. And I'll never forget the day my usually quiet, reserved son snapped at her for trying to give away his Nintendo Switch. If I wasn't also fed up with her behavior, I would have washed his mouth out with soap. I've had countless talks with her, but she continues to do this. My son and I have resorted to locking up anything we don't want touched, which is something we shouldn't have to do in our own home. Last week, I won a $300 tent in a raffle. I had no plans on using it, so I was selling it. When I found a buyer, I went to look for it, and I couldn't find it. When I asked my wife, she said she gave it to a friend of ours. I got mad at her and said she had no right to give it away. Her defense was, since I didn't spend money on it and I wasn't planning on using it, it made sense to give it away for free. I told her that wasn't her decision to make, but she kept on repeating herself. I've had enough of this and said she's either going to pay me herself or get the money from who she gave it to. And if she didn't, I'd get law enforcement involved.
Oh, was this his wife?
Uh-huh.
Oh, he's pissed.
He means business.
He's pissed.
Since she would rather die than ask a friend for money, she paid me out of her own pocket. The issue eventually got around to her family. While they did say she should have talked to me first, they also reprimanded me for asking for payment. They reasoned that since I didn't actually buy the tent, I didn't lose any money, and it went to a friend who could actually put it to good use. I got several texts saying I should be ashamed for extorting my wife for money. I think I have every right to want to be paid for something of mine that was taken. But everyone keeps emphasizing the fact that I didn't technically buy the tent, and I didn't want it, so I have nothing to be upset about. Am I the asshole?
I have so many thoughts. My actually biggest qualm with this is getting your family involved in your couple's drama. Because the family doesn't know like all the things that led up to this point.
Yeah.
I do think it was wrong of him to be like, you have to pay me. Like, I think this is one of those, like, if you ever do this again, like, this is going to be a real problem.
Yeah.
Like, money didn't really have to get involved. But I also do
Law
think
enforcement too.
Law enforcement too. That was a lot. Also, the whole, like, he did win it. Like, he didn't just, like, get it for free. Like, he earned it. He put his thing down. He tried to get it. It's more of the fact that she does this all the time. This reminds me of, like, when I accidentally threw away my husband's Invisalign.
Oh.
Because, like, I was in a mode where I'm like, I'm throwing stuff away. We have too much stuff. And I guess, I don't know how it happened. I threw it away. And I felt so bad. But it wasn't like, you have to pay for it now.
Was it wrapped in toilet paper on your bathroom
counter? I
counter?
think it was. It was one of those things. It happens all the time.
Literally, this just happened to me and Justin.
It was, and it's like an honest mistake, and we laughed about it, and we joked. He's like, "You never clean, and now you throw my Invisalign." But like, I would have paid him for it. Like, I felt bad, but again, it's like clearly she is having a weird thing of like boundaries with like. Also, why are you giving away so much stuff? At least sell it. At least make money for the family.
It's like the opposite of hoarding. Like she has, like, it actually seems like this might be
little mental illness.
A mental health problem.
Yeah.
Because why would you give away your kids
Go
or
on
your stepkids?
Go on Depop.
Like the Nintendo Switch is crazy to just give away.
I understand.
Crazy.
It's crazy also if you were just taking stuff and not asking and selling it. But at least I'm like, okay, she's making money. She's on the hustle. But that's still crazy. You have to ask people before you.
Yeah.
What?
It's weird.
So I think his thing is he was just in a snapping moment.
I would snap.
And he was like, okay, pay me that money. And it was less like he needed the money. He was just pissed.
Yeah.
So then like the parents are logically like, that's crazy. You're extorting our daughter. And he's like, no, this was like us fighting and me being kind of an asshole in this fight.
Am I the asshole for telling my wife to be less emotional when cooking?
Get off your high horse and cook. Sounds like you're not cooking.
Earlier today, my wife texted me that she found a recipe in a magazine that she was reading last week, and she wanted to try making it. She insisted on stopping by the store on her way home from work to buy the ingredients. This annoyed me because I had planned out the meals for the week, and I have previously requested that any deviation from the schedule be communicated to me at least 1 week in advance. Nonetheless, I let her try to cook. So when she got home, she got right to work, chopping vegetables, vegetables, boiling water, etc. I work from home and I needed to finish a few things, so I left her to cook in the kitchen. About an hour later, my wife came and got me. She led me into the kitchen and seemed very pleased with herself. It smelled and looked delicious, and she had even poured us glasses of red wine and lit some candles. From the first bite, though, I knew something had gone terribly wrong. She had made a chicken and noodle casserole and it tasted very salty, almost like pickles. I spat out my forkful and calmly but firmly asked her what she had done. I was struggling to get the taste out of my mouth. She walked up to the recipe and deciphered that she had added 1 tablespoon of salt instead of 1 teaspoon of salt. I told her that she was too excited about the recipe and that she let her emotions take over. I reminded her that if she had controlled her emotions, she wouldn't have sped through the recipe.
This is a crazy response to, oops, I put a little bit too much salt.
My wife turned red and looked down at the floor. All she could muster was, I just wanted to do something nice. I got up from the table, scrapped the inedible food into the trash, and ordered a pizza.
Oh.
At this point, I was in no mood to return to my original food schedule.
We're scrapping.
So when I was done ordering, I asked my wife how she would avoid doing such things in the future when she cooked.
Ooh, I'd be so mad. Oh, he's lucky I'm not his goddamn wife.
My wife seemed angry about the question and said that I should just drop it. I refused. I told her that she had wasted our money on these ingredients only for us to throw out the entire dish away. I asked her if she even cared about how that made me feel, but she just shook her head and angrily stormed out of the room. I've been trying to get her to speak to me for a few hours, but she just wants to pout. I get so tired of her ridiculous behavior and I feel incredibly disrespected by her. I guess she wants me to apologize, but I was the one who ultimately saved dinner, so am I the asshole?
This is divorce, right? I just would not deal with that kind of disrespect. I feel like you don't love me if you talk to me like this.
My wife confessed that she married me because she was afraid of being alone. My wife and I have been married for 15 years. We have a 4-year-old daughter. A few days ago, my wife got drunk. I also drank, but not as much. After getting together, we started talking and remembering things. She ended up confessing that she married me because she was afraid of being alone like her mother. So that's why she immediately accepted my proposal to go out. My wife's father abandoned my mother-in-law when my wife was a baby. My mother-in-law did not overcome the abandonment and lived most of her life bitterly. She also took it out on my wife physically and verbally. The next day, my wife looked very embarrassed and apologized for everything she said, and she also mentioned that although what she said that night is true, she fell in love with me and that she really loves me. She doesn't love me like I love her, but she loves me enough to know that she wants to spend her life with me. I don't know how to feel. I've been distant with her. I even checked her phone thinking she was cheating on me, but she's not. Should I just get over it? My girlfriend had a dinner party with some family friends last night. Her and her friends were discussing their relationships with their parents, and my girlfriend ended up realizing how much she couldn't relate to them. Her friends apparently spoke highly of their dads and recalled fondly of their memories, while my girlfriend and her father don't have the strongest relationship by any means. We called last night after the guest had left, and she began telling me about how she felt, debriefing the conversation she had, and how she felt sad she didn't share the same relationship or experiences with her dad. While she's talking, I can feel myself falling asleep because it's 3 a.m. So I tell her I'm falling asleep and good night. I guess she feels upset that I didn't have anything to say and went to sleep. She said I should have at least tried to console her, but I genuinely was falling asleep because I was tired.
For as long as I can remember, I've always been in love with this guy. Let's call him Ben. We grew up in the same neighborhood. Everyone we grew up with knew about my feelings for this guy. But for some reason, he acted as if he didn't know I liked him. I tried and did everything in my power to get him to propose to me, but he never did. A friend of mine told me that once she overheard him talking to the boys in the area. The boys were telling him I was crazy about him, and he told them he knew about my feelings for him and that he was just not interested in me. I was so heartbroken when I heard this, and I decided to just move on. I started dating another guy, but no matter what I did, I just couldn't forget about Ben. We still lived in the same neighborhood and I still saw him almost every day. And in a way, I was still hoping he would fall in love with me one day and we would get to be together. Now, last year around November, Ben started showing interest in me out of nowhere. I was not in a relationship then, and it kind of took me by surprise. He started texting me every day, then he started calling me every day. Then just within a month, he told me he was in love with me and that he wanted me to be his girlfriend. Everything happened so fast. This was a guy I've wanted for a very long time, so of course I said yes to him. We started dating and I was over the moon with joy. I was finally with the love of my life. I remember when we first started dating, I asked him why he had finally noticed me. He told me he had always been in love with me and that he was just not ready to be with me. me. It was as if I was in a fairy tale. The first month we started dating, this guy was always on the phone with me. If we were not on the phone, then we were physically together. He loved singing and he sang for me every time we were together. He bought flowers for me like that was the first time a guy has ever bought flowers for me. Like he was doing everything in his power to show me he loved me. Then he fell seriously ill our second month together. He went to the hospital and he was told he had some problems with his heart. Things went downhill from there. He was bedridden and he couldn't do anything. His mother lived in another region and he had no one. So I moved in with him to take care of him. Now, I love this guy and taking care of him is not a problem for me. It was my plans to take good care of him and for him to get better. Now, his mother came over to visit him one day and I was in the kitchen cooking when I overheard her on the phone talking to someone. She was telling the person they don't know what they would have done if I had not moved in to take care of Ben. Her saying this was not a problem, but then she added that because of the nature of her job, she would have not been able to move in with him to take care of him and that they had planned to pay for a home nurse to come take care of him during the weekdays and then his mother would come during the weekends. But the money the home nurses were charging was too much. That was when I stepped in and I started taking care of him. For some reason, this conversation didn't sit right with me. It was as if I was just being used. I was basically bathing for him 2 times a day, cooking for him and feeding him 3 times a day. Like I was doing everything for him 24/7. Even his mom was only coming around once in a while. I loved this man, so I pushed these thoughts out of my mind. Then one day I was going through his medicine bag when I saw some reports from about 2 months before he was suddenly interested in me. He told me he didn't know he had this condition, but he had known for some time before he proposed to me. He knew he was going to get bedridden after we started dating. It was as if he planned everything so that I would end up taking care of him after he falls sick. I confronted him and he apologized for lying about not knowing about his condition, but he said he approached me because he genuinely wanted to be with me. Now, I don't know what to think. If he's with me because he really loves me, I don't mind being with him and taking care of him. Everything he did the first month we were together showed he loved me. But a friend of mine said he was love bombing me. She believes he just approached me because he wanted me to be his caretaker when he falls sick. If that is the case, then he's just using me. I've been taking care of him all by myself for almost 3 months now. And at this point, I don't know what to do. But if he's really using me, I will leave him. Do you think this man approached me because he genuinely loves me, or is he just using me? This follower needs your opinions, babes. Please drop some below. And don't forget to hit the plus sign or follow me for more story times.
Am I the asshole for outshining the bride?
Steph, you got that?
Yes. Yes.
You got that? Okay.
I, 27 female, am a black African-American woman. I'm living and working in Germany for a fixed period on secondment. While here, I became quite friendly with a colleague, 60 female, and she invited me to her daughter's wedding. I was excited as I'd never been to a white wedding. I asked if there was...
They're very different.
White wedding. I asked if there was a dress code / color scheme to adhere to since it wasn't specified on the invite. I was told the code is dress to impress. Okay, bet. Day of the wedding, I understand the assignment. I wear my traditional wear, which is really beautiful and obviously not German. The garment is green, so no problem there. Or so I thought. I get a lot of questions and compliments at the wedding, which I genuinely downplay because it's not my day. My colleague seems colder than usual, but I pay it no mind.
Just furious fuming.
Since she's the mother of the bride and could be preoccupied. The bride is downright rude to me, but again, I give her grace. I congratulate her and thank her for including me, and I get a tight response. I keep to the edges of the room as the music isn't really my vibe, and I'm just observing how European weddings work. I leave around 8 after 5 hours and go home before the wedding finishes. Monday, I walk into whispers in the office, people acting strangely and more reserved than usual, and an office friend pulls me aside and fills me in. Bride's mother is fuming. My outfit was too extravagant, over the top, and inappropriate. I drew attention from the bride and commanded the room. I was rude and disrespectful. She told people all about it, apparently. I approached mother of the bride and asked to speak to her, but she says she has nothing to say to me. I asked why she has everything to say to everyone else, but not to me. And she calls me an insolent child. I explained to anyone who scolds me that it was my first white wedding. I specifically asked what to wear and followed the guidelines. Where I'm from, there's no such thing as outshining the bride. Weddings are a fashion show and a chance to wear your best and brightest clothes. They told me this isn't Africa, which was racially coded, and people here have manners. I laughed and told that person to go to hell, so she's telling people I lack remorse for my behavior. I'm wondering if I'm the asshole here, though. And then she gives a quick feedback. Some of y'all are pressed about the white wedding part. It literally means it's the first wedding I've been to where the bride, groom, and wedding party are white. It's really not that deep. Am I the asshole for making my oldest pay back $3,000 for the dress that she ruined? So my oldest, Bethany, 16, has a step sibling, Maria, 14, almost 15. Bethany and I are white, while my husband and Maria are Mexican descent. They have been in each other's lives since they were 6 and 7, and overall the relationship is good until recently. Maria's quinceañera is coming up, and my husband and his ex-wife took her to get her dress. The dress and alterations came to be around $3,000. My daughter has been very jealous of the whole party. I informed her that it is part of the culture, just like when she had a huge Sweet 16 party with her friends. I spent more time with her to try and make her feel better about it and get her own cheaper dress for the party. The party is supposed to be in 2 weeks, but my daughter, after an argument with Maria about the TV, she scribbled Sharpie all over the expensive dress and ripped the back. The short story, everyone was pissed. I gave money to my husband and his ex to try and get a new dress ASAP. I informed my daughter she will need to get a job and pay back the full price of the dress as punishment. We got into a huge argument over it, and the whole situation isn't fair that I'm choosing Maria and being a huge jerk. Am I the asshole?